Welcome. We're glad you're here. We're glad you're here this morning to listen with us to one of the preeminent preachers and certainly boldest leaders in the Episcopal Church today, and that's Becca Stevens. You can't hear me? You can't hear me? Can you all hear me? No, okay. Can you hear me now? All right. Is it noisy? Well, I want to make sure. Can you hear me easily enough? Okay. I want to welcome you and appreciate you joining me as we listen to one of the preeminent preachers in the Episcopal Church and certainly one of the boldest leaders. That's Becca Stevens. Most of you perhaps heard her here at the end of April, where she brought Thistle Farms and the Magdalene movement to Fayetteville, gave voice to it, and has left a very active Magdalene Fayetteville in her wake. She was preaching on this, we'll be watching, she preached to General Convention, that every third year convention of the Episcopal Church, so it's a big crowd. It was recent, and Lowell was away in attendance there. So let's listen to what they heard. It might help to know, or maybe you'll pick up in context, but the gospel for that day was the parable of the lost sheep, of the shepherd who left the 99 and went after the one.
Where wild geranium and thistles grow among scrub brush on sandy soil. Into those fields, our Lord calls the disciples to leave the grassy, the cushy hillsides and go in search. Such a call makes the work of this convention more critical as we remember that is what we are for, going to search and to bring people home. This parable, though, also preaches it's time to leave the grassy hillsides and to go out determined to love with a dogged determination so we don't get mired in the dogma of the church. And it's a calling for all of us to remember it is in fact that the lost sheep help find the church. It helps find the church make her way home. So the parable is this: go out and look and remember that it is the lost sheep, the one that is critical to the whole life of the fold. My father was an Episcopal priest who in 1968 was called from the Diocese of New York to start a church in Nashville, Tennessee. My mother, who had never been south of the Mason-Dixon line, thought they may be perhaps being sent to hell. Nonetheless, packed the car and they went. That same year, my father was killed by a drunk driver, leaving a widow of 35 years old with 5 children in a field she never intended to go to. Shortly after that, the senior warden of the church began my 2-year journey into the lonely fields of child sexual abuse. In those hallowed moments of both trauma and grief, I learned that lost sheep rarely just wander from the fold in this world, but they are pushed out. They are pushed out by the silence of dysfunctional communities. They're pushed out by addiction, by poverty, by systematic racism. They are pushed out by the overwhelmingly universal issues of injustice in this world that render communities numb. But it was the Episcopal Church who also came to find me. Through beautiful youth events and youth groups that didn't give up on me. through amazing work of the Episcopal Church women who called us together again and again, and who even provided scholarship money for education, and for compassionate and wise priests who could hold my story. In gratitude for all the mercy I had known in my life for the community we call church, in 1997, I started a place called Magdalene for sister lost sheep who endured more than I can imagine, surviving lives of trafficking, addiction, and prostitution. 2 years residential free program to come in and find healing. Shortly after that, I learned one of the lessons of the lost sheep is that if we are going to love and find one another, we have to be concerned about each other's economic well-being, and we founded Thistle Farms, an all-natural bath and body care company. Named after the only plant still left growing in the fields where lost sheep graze. The women of Magdalene over the last 20 years, who on average are first raped between the ages of 7 and 11, who first hit the streets between 14 and 16 years old, have taught me that it is not that hard to find lost sheep. It's amazingly easy. It can be as simple as a bag of chips offered to somebody hungry, a visit to a prison where you mention the word home, a welcoming community who loves without judgment and never gives up. This gospel reminds us that without each other, we're all lost, and together we become a powerful fold. 80% of the women over a 10-year period doing the statistics are clean and sober 2 years later. Thistle Farms has grown into the largest bath and body care company, the largest social enterprise in the United States of America, run by survivors. We have been welcomed into many of your dioceses as the Episcopal Church has taken the lead in the Housing First model for women who are coming off the streets. We have been so grateful the way you have loved us and welcomed us home. We have 22 sister communities around the United States. We have 18 global partners where the universal issues of sexual violence that are born on individual bodies have kept too many women out in the fields for too long. One of the partners that we have partnered with starting about 2008 is a group of women in Rwanda. They were farmers before the genocide, took 1 million lives in 100 days. And after they were raped, after their families were slaughtered, they found each other and they went out into those same fields where they had dug up the bones of their beloved and they planted healing geranium, that same native plant that is found in Palestine where lonely sheep graze. The same oil that is applied to sheep when they come back in the fold through the gate to make sure they are healed and cleaned and unaffected and disinfected. We partnered with them, and this year we are going to sell 10,000 bottles of geranium oil. 10,000 of the best, beautiful healing oil that happens to be an amazing bug spray. And let me tell you what those bottles of geranium oil are going to do. They are going to build houses. They are going to restore communities. They are going to remind us all that love is the most powerful force for social change, and together we can love the whole world, a person at a time, and not leave anybody behind. The more and more we do this work, we go out into the world and we find sheep everywhere who want to believe in a movement for women's freedom that knows it is true that if we rape women, we can kill a village. But when we heal the women, we can heal a whole village and leave no one behind. And so it is that you have welcomed at this convention with grace and beauty 4 powerful women leader survivors, Doris, Tracy, Ty, and Jovita. All women who are leading many, many people home. Doris, an inspiring and wonderful woman, just in the last couple years has been to the Diocese of Arkansas, of Chicago, of Louisiana, of Maryland, of Missouri, of New Orleans. She has been to the Diocese of Ohio. She has been in the Diocese of West Tennessee and West Texas and others. And she goes into places, a woman like all the women I serve who have known the underside of bridges, the backside of anger, the short side of justice, and the inside of prison walls, to say to us, go and look. You do not have to be overwhelmed. You do not have to be cynical. We can do this together. I was with her when we went to the Diocese of Florida, to the Episcopal Church women who were beginning to look into housing first for women. And she says to me, I've never been to the beach, of all the things she had seen. And I got to be with her when her feet first hit those sugar sands and watch the joy of the amazing grace of being found. She, in her own words, after trauma and devastation and fear and addictions, had wandered a 10-block radius for more than 20 years. But a community never forgot her and went after her, and she has been leading us home. And so when her feet hit the ocean for the first time and she felt the tide, she was overcome with joy and just lifted her arms and said, has this been doing this my whole life? All those years that she was wandering the streets, that tide was going in and out. My Lord and my God, as long as the moon has been spinning around this earth, that tide has been going in and out. And we know that older and more powerful than that tide is love. But sometimes it takes a community to get us to the beach to remember that power. This gospel is a call to remember the lonely fields of the streets, the hopeful fields of geranium in Rwanda, and even to remember the dying altars in communities where churches have forgotten that without the lost sheep and beggars, we are just a museum. This is the day we remember the prophet Isaiah saying, it is together that we sing with joy and we come from our ruins. It is like Paul says, we are one. So I hope you come find us. And I hope you buy a ton of geranium bug spray. And I hope you buy a ton of the healing oils. And I hope you carry this message back to your diocese to tell our story of healing, to tell your story of healing, of how we were lost and how we are found and how it is together that we can remember that when we leave no one behind, we will be the vision of a beautiful fold that lives and loves and celebrates the kingdom. Amen.
Becca came in April because of the work of so many men and women here in this parish who prepared the way, who went out into the field. And I see several of you here, those of you who have been helping us, praying us into being, working with us. If you just kind of wave a hand so that others can identify, wave a big hand so that others can see what you've been doing. Thank you for getting us far enough to bring not only Becca, but the women of Magdalene who accompanied her. They were a powerful influence on us. Since she left, I want you to hear what has happened in the 2 months since she has left. We have a board. Thank you. We have a board, and a very active board, has met once, is about to meet a second time, doing hard work. We have a home. Thanks, of course, significantly to Gary and Hannah Lee. Gary is sitting on the board as well. And to Carolyn and Nick Cole. We have a home. We have a house. We're making a home. It's going to take a lot of support to rehab the house we're in. But it is, if you haven't heard about it, let me tell you, it is ideally suited. Lowell likes to call it that hen's tooth. I mean, how remarkable to find something that met every single aspect of our dream for these women. It needed to be close to the bus routes. Well, this is within half a mile of all the bus routes that run north and south and east and west. It needed to be within half a mile of a grocery store, family thrift store, resale shop. It is better yet, within a tenth of a mile to Wilson Park, a block and a half. It is a block and a half to the bike trail, the walking trail that runs all the way from South Fayetteville, up to Bella Vista, or at least beyond Bentonville. It couldn't be a better location. It had to be in zoning that would welcome it. Well, one side of the street, you have the Wilson Park single-family residence, which wouldn't have worked. Other side of the street, you have multifamily housing, and there we are. We belong to a neighborhood. So not only has community paved the way, but we will be embedding these women in a home in the heart of our community. I know that will be healing. What else have we done? The social enterprise. I'm going to let somebody else catch you up to date, but the social enterprise committee has just been knocking it out of the park. I'd love to hear what happened yesterday at the Walton College of Business when the plan that has been created by our social enterprise group, assisted by the Walton College of Business, was presented, I think in a competitive field, was it? In a competitive field. I'd love to hear what happened. But they are moving along. We have been getting calls, visitors. People are waiting for this. They're ready for this. People are looking for this. We have women who are homeless with this background, and we're not yet ready for them, but we know they're out there. They are finding us. The lost sheep have found us, even as we continue to look and prepare. Another thing that has begun since the house was purchased, beginning the very next morning, and I invite all of you to this, we have begun establishing the circle. The circle is at the heart of the home of every Magdalene home everywhere across the country. The circle is the gathering of the women and some supporters who come together in the morning. In our case, it's 9 o'clock, Monday through Friday. If you need an address, I'll be happy to give it to you. Circle begins by taking a candle and lighting it in remembrance with special intentions for the woman who is yet out there, the woman who is still walking the streets, the woman who still would seem to be lost. It sets an intention in our heart to prepare a place for her. We hold up in prayer all of the volunteers, all who contribute time, money, prayer. And then we begin by reading from the Rule of Life, the Magdalene written Rule of Life. It's based on the Benedictine model. You'll recognize it, those of you who are Benedictines, beginning with welcoming the stranger. And so we read the little tiny Rule of Life and 2 or 3 small, short reflections from Magdalene women. And then we go into a silence. And out of that silence, we are invited to share, if we want, how that rule and that setting and our hopes and our dreams. Speak to us in that half hour. And then we close with a serenity prayer. That circle ripples out. You may never sit in that circle, but you have found your place at that circle. You are in that circle here and now, this day, with your very presence, with your listening, opening your hearts to Becca and to what goes on here. Welcome to the circle. Let us help you find your place at the circle. Everyone belongs. And perhaps the most amazing thing that has happened since Becca left is that Carolyn Bates has spent most of the time since then in Nashville, soaking up the Magdalene Day, soaking up the programming, soaking up the love and the expressions of love, and the program and she is now here, among us, with us, helping us shape our Magdalene experience from the inside out. She is the heartbeat, I think, of this ministry. I'd love to give you a chance. If you want to share some of the updates, I'd love to. Introduce Carolyn Bates again if you hadn't met her in her previous visits. She's with us for good now. Yay.
I almost started crying when I heard Suzanne say my name. And she's standing up here in the all-black pants and top. And she reminds me of all the 3 judges I stood before that sentenced me. You know? And I listen to Becca, and I think about, my journey started at 7 years old. 7 years old, my journey started. 16 years old, she said it. I left home at 16 after having 2 children. The first one was from child molestation. And the second one was to try to prove that I was having sex, and I got pregnant immediately. I ended up on the streets at 16 years old. I heard her say lost sheep. I didn't have a clue that I was even lost. I thought that was life. I thought things happen like that in a home, and then when it gets too hard, only the strong survive. So you stand up and you walk out the door, and then you begin life as it comes. So you do what you have to do out on those streets. I never dreamed it would be people sitting in here thinking about me, or somebody still out there. So if you can just about imagine what it's like for me to be standing right here, there is no words to describe. Meeting Suzanne, listening to her talk. We don't believe, first of all, nothing you say. Who would? The people that were supposed to raise us and support us didn't, so why would I believe you? Let me just say that. But when I came to Nashville to that workshop and I met Suzanne and I heard her talk, and for me coming to Nashville, I went to Nashville the first time because I left sisters out there. I left people out there that I know deserve to be in here. So there is no way I was going to get it together and not try to go back there and get them. And then I come in here thinking I got to convince you to do that too. But I didn't have to. I met Suzanne and she said, Carolyn, we got a team in Arkansas. I'm like, okay. Let me go meet this team. Well, Carolyn, we're going to send for you. We're going to fly you here. So whoever she talked to, whoever donated, whoever volunteered, whoever spent a second in prayer for us made this happen. They flew me here. I'll never forget that first night sleeping in Suzanne's room. And I woke up still angry. And I met her in the kitchen, and I'm in tears, and I'm telling her, now I know what it's like to be safe, but I don't know what it looks like. I got to go back. What are you talking about? What is this? I was so angry. And she just kept, Carolyn, I don't know. We don't know. But we just going to keep doing the next right thing. We're going to keep going forward. Then I came here and I spoke. And I met the whole team and I spoke to them and I said, you know, I want to be all right. I want to know what it's like to be safe. I want to know what you know. Like when you lay down in your room, I want to feel what you feel. I want to know what it's like to close the door behind me and not worry about what's going to happen in the morning or at night when the sun go down. I want to know what that's like. They heard me. When we cry, you hear us now. You weren't in that house with me, but you said, that's okay, I'm here now. And I'm going to make a difference now. They flew me back again. I met Beck and them here for the fundraising. Went to Nashville, spent a month in Nashville. When I left the second time from here, Suzanne said, Carolyn, you're coming back. We didn't even have a house. I knew, for once in my life, I believed in people. I believed in you because you believed in me. You told me I was somebody. You told me I can be anything, I can do anything, and I love you, Carolyn. And I believed you for the first time. I believed somebody when they said they love me. So when I got back to San Antonio, that Monday I gave my 2 weeks' notice. We didn't even have a house. We out there don't do that. We got to have a sure thing or we making money on the way. You know what I'm saying? I'm just keeping it real. But y'all believed in me. I don't know what this looks like. But what I do know is now I have an army standing by me. I'm not alone up here anymore. I got people that's standing by me now, and I believe I can do anything and be anything I want to be. I'm never going to shut up. I'm never going to stop advocating for the women. I'm never going to stop saying Magdalene House is now here. We're here to stay. I'm going to be a door. I'm going to hold my hand out. I'm going to hug the first woman that walked through that door. I'm going to look her in the eye and tell her I love her and I know where you've been. But it's okay. Our past do not determine our future. I can stand up here boldly now with my chest out, my head up. I got a different walk. I got people that said I'm gonna walk with you. That's gonna love me even on days when I'm afraid and I don't say the right thing because I'm gonna screw up. Because what I know is what's in you gonna come out of you. And I promised you someday I'm gonna say some things. Let me just say that. We're going to say some things, you know. But they still love us. They're still walking with me. They haven't given up. On my days where I'm afraid, I say, I can't come outside today. They understand. This is what you have done. I'm standing here. I'm not still on a piece of paper saying that woman's coming. I'm standing here, and the house is not even finished. We put the wagon before the horse. I do know that. So I'm standing here. Since I've been here, the day they closed on that house, they handed me a key. That key was so small, but baby, it was so big in my hand. They handed me a key to that house. Without any questions asked, Suzanne and Lowell gave me a key. They believe in me. I have a key. We go in there every morning, Monday through Friday, and pray and sit in that circle, and I can share what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling. I went to the Social Enterprise College yesterday, and I sat across from all those students working for us. The ones that they say we're nothing, we're nobody, but oh my God, I cannot believe this. I cannot believe this. So for the women coming behind me, I'm standing here. I'm somebody today. If y'all can make me somebody, you can open the door for anybody coming behind me. If I can't say that enough, if y'all can get me to stand here, you only knew where I've been, you would know this is a miracle. Miracles happen, and they're happening today. They say miracles don't happen no more. Yes, they do. We don't have to. But my prayer is that Magdalene, not only one Magdalene Fayetteville, but we'll keep opening them. The more women come, the more we open them. We are fully equipped to do whatever task is in front of us to do. I can't do it alone. We can do it together. We are a community. As a community, we're going to make it. So if I can't say anything enough, thank you so much for all you've done. Thank you for being in here. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for where we're going, because I'm not staying where I was. Thank you for opening doors for all of us coming behind me. Thank you very much. You are amazing. You weren't so busybody.
I hardly know what to say, but if that didn't invite you to the circle on Monday through Friday at 9, I don't know what will. Please join us in that conversation and in that prayer anytime you like. I think we'll open it up to questions. My first question really is, what happened yesterday at the College of Business? Yeah? Okay. Well, you need a mic for the video.
Okay. The video, I forget about that. See, she knows not to tell me that way ahead of time. It was amazing. The students, they put a full business plan together. They went through the margins, the board, the different levels of board, and I'm not that educated, so I'm probably gonna screw it all up. But they put a full business plan together, and it was really, really good. They gave us a copy of it. They gave them even the steps that they took to get the business plan together. How long it would take for them to be successful or profitable. From 6 months to 1 year to 3 years to 6 years, and then 5 years, and even they gave a plan of what if this doesn't work, what it will look like if it don't work. So, and also what I love about it the most is they walked through the steps where the volunteers will be working in the social enterprise in the beginning, and once the women get here, the women will be trained and take over. But what I love the most is, we will be learning how to sew, as well as, the downtime, the social media. A lot of us don't know it. I do know Facebook. I do know a little bit about, YouTube and all of that, but I don't know Twitter. I don't know some of that stuff. So somebody's going to train us to do that, and then we'll be able to work on the social. They'll have a social a media in the wherever we'll be sewing at, and we'll be learning how to do that also. So we'll be working on the social media as well as in the stores. So I'm just loving it. So that's all I can tell y'all. Somebody that's more equipped can tell you better. Thank you.
Thanks. I think it was a capstone project, which means it was a graduating group of MBA students who put that together. Social enterprise, in case that sounds unfamiliar to you, that is what Thistle Farms is to Magdalene Nashville, those wonderful products. In our case, a great deal of work has been put into it, and a collaboration with local retailer, with Terra Tots, with a local nonprofit that helps teach women sewing. And we've come up with some beautiful, I wish I had examples here, with some beautiful products that the women can make and feel proud of making. They're beautiful products that support babies, gifts that are kind of aimed at grandparents, that are and hopefully the sort of gift that you'd buy more than one repeatedly. But anyway, a lot of thought has gone into that. And the idea is to support our women in meaningful work at a sustainable wage. As Becca had said, it's a housing first model, which means you don't earn the right to live at the house. You come in off the streets. You come in out of prison, and you are met at the door with a loving embrace and a key. Everything is provided, and along the way, when you begin working at the social enterprise, you begin making a wage, so that by the end of the 2 years, you have enough savings, perhaps for a down payment on a car. Certainly, you have the deposit and first month's rent. You have utilities. They're set up. We hope to set them up in safety and in hope and with skills along the way. One of the things I want to say, the last thing before I open it for questions, is that when Becca talked about the lost sheep, we go after the lost sheep not only for the sake of the lost sheep, but because we come to know God differently. I know the power and love of God, the grace of God, so much more profoundly for the friendship I now have with Carolyn. I'm not sure who was lost, but together we are found, and I do invite you into the search. Questions? Yes, Anna.
What's the process of a woman getting accepted into the house, or do they just literally, like you said, show up at the front door and say, hey?
Show up at the front door. The first set of residents are most likely, our intention is that they will come out of the Northwest Arkansas Community Correction Center, that therapeutic prison for women. They will come out, and there's an advantage there in that we get to know them a little bit. But that's the only group that will be intentionally invited. After that, we will make ourselves available. We will seek them out, and there won't be any sort of standard by which they must come, except that the community is there for women who, as Becca herself was and said, women who were violated as children between the ages of 7 and 9, some much earlier, on the streets usually by 14, 16, some earlier. Addiction to cover the pain of a childhood like that. And prostitution or even trafficking, being trafficked by someone else in order to support the addiction, or just to manage, right? Just you do what you have to do. We heard Carolyn say, you do what you have to do. We are looking, those are the longest odds. People with that history are the ones who have the highest rate of recidivism. We'll meet them. We've seen the same women in and out already in the 8 years we've been going across the street. Some of the same women we fall in love with because there's no break in the pattern. What it takes to break that pattern, oh man, the odds are long. And that's who we're reaching out to. There are places that can help you with your addiction. There are places that can help you with homelessness. There are places that can help you with a lot of the things we will help with. But there is nowhere else where you enter into a relationship that is so grounded in God's steady love, God's constancy, that's what's healing, is accepting no matter what the history, no matter what anyone has done. I mean, we're not asking you what you've done, and you have a place at the circle. They're not asking me what I've done, and I've got a place at the circle. We're not going to ask. It doesn't matter. What matters is the opportunity for healing that comes out of relationship. And some women feel violated by God, and some women are violated by people, and many are violated by both. So it takes a lot to gain trust, and that's why it takes 2 years. So we will bring in the first women from prison. Maybe always many will come from that. I suppose anyone's had prison experience, but the only standard really is that they've traveled that path. Oh, man, that's up to you all. We need a lot of money to fix this place up. That's up to you all. We do hope that all gifts, large and small, will help us. I'm guessing, we don't have numbers yet, but I'm guessing it will be fully $300,000 to restore this house. It is, like I said, the setting's incredible. It's on almost an acre. It has a park-like set of pine trees. It's just pastoral, isn't it? It's peaceful. It's loving. $300,000, we will have a 3,000 square foot home that is ideally suited for up to 8 women. And the programming that goes on, it will be large enough to sustain the programming that goes on should we open another house and another house. This would be the central house. Yes. 8 months, hopefully. 8 months.
Is there someone kind of in charge of the redo?
Brett, thank you. Brett and Stacy Park are architects who they've traveled to Nashville. They've seen Magdalen House. They have studied. They are part of the core group, and they will help us. They're helping us revision that house. Yes, yeah. In the house, thank you. We are already holding it in the house, as the women will. And so I'm not advertising the address out loud, but I can give the address to any of you who want to join us. It will be, is it now? It will be. That's one of the big things. In fact, we already have 1 bedroom and 1 bath, that is. But can we get you, can you get in the house? There's one...
She can come. If you're thinking of coming to the circle, we do move the circle outside. So we can
That's true.
inside and outside. So if you want to come to the circle, we will move it outside.
Lots of shade, lots of shade.
I'm going to stay with you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Yes, I'll check. I think it is with 1 elevation change, and we can get a threshold. What do you call those things? A ramp. Thanks. We'll do that. Are there other questions? Well, thank you. It is here. It's here to stay. Did you have something? Sorry. You want to connect. Yeah. Thank you. If you know anybody who might appreciate hearing from any of us, from me, from Carolyn, from others, give us the opportunity to speak to your book club, your civic group, and we'd be thrilled. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you.